Mere conservatism.
Christmas time is here.
Ouch.
Are you putting down my signal?
You're gonna get us kicked off the internet with that kind of thing. We if they blocked us, if they blocked our RSS feed for that, I would not blame them.
But Christmas time is here.
It is. Did you have a good birthday?
I did. Thank you for asking.
You are 69.
No, I am 68.
Oh, okay. I thought you were 69.
Why are you trying to get me out
I don't know.
soon?
I thought you were the same age as my dad. My dad just turned 69. His birthday is 2 days before yours.
Well,
so are you sure you're not 69?
Pretty sure.
Check the birth certificate if you got one. I hope you had a great day.
That's David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker, and I did have a good day. Thank you for that. And having some great days now. Got 2 birthday cakes.
That's always good.
That's always great. And Christmas, I love this time of year.
Me too.
And there's a song, We Need a Little Christmas, right this very minute. I think that song.
Yeah, the sentiment of that song is spot on. I agree with you.
I mean, aren't you a little fatigued and tired of a lot of the stuff that's happening now?
Oh, boy, you don't even know. Yes, very much so.
So here we are talking about stuff that is so fatiguing.
Yeah.
And
I look at the culture, Cleve, and I think about my kids, and I think about how broken the culture is.
Yes.
And how the road that we've gone down pretty quickly in the last several years. It's a different universe, it feels like, than it was when I grew up. And I think about my kids a lot and the world that they're inheriting, and it's a little. I don't like to use the word scary when I think about that, but it's a little bit daunting.
Okay.
To think about how I need to prepare them.
Right.
For the world we're living in. I mean, there's a lot of controversy right now about pedophilia and those types of things targeting children. And you and I have talked about the fact that when you start to change definitions and wipe out gender, and wipe out these differences that we've put in place over the years, that there's a lot of things that go with it, unintended consequences you could call them, although for some people they're intended consequences, where the Overton window for proper expression of sexuality shifts drastically, and it's dangerous to everybody, but especially children.
And somebody listening to you, and I've talked to people like this, Dave, they said, oh, you guys are exaggerating. I mean, it's just politics. It's just cultural shifts. There's not really that much change. And they actually believe that. And I want to tell you, no, there's a change that I would call it almost a paradigm shift, and not just in America, really in the world in general.
Uh-huh.
And I look at that, and again, I have to go back to my faith, David, and say, it seems like Jesus was trying to tell us about these times somewhere along the line.
He might have had the foresight to do that.
So it's not the same.
Well, and I think about the Q conspiracy. Remember the Q conspiracy? Oh, yeah. Now, this was something that was especially a big deal around the 2020 election. Mm-hmm. And you and I talked about it. We weren't really even sure what it was. We're not Q people. We're not.
I mean, QAnon. I was saying, what in the world is QAnon?
And you see it, people holding up Q signs and stuff like that. Well, if you want to boil it down as simply as you can, the Q thing was the idea that there was a elite pedophile ring.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
At the elite levels of our society, that it was this evil pedophile thing, and there was a conspiracy about it.
We even had Hillary Clinton involved in it.
Pizzagate or some crazy stuff like that. Then the Jeffrey Epstein stuff happened, and you're like, so you're telling me that a high level pedophile ring is a conspiracy theory that's crazy, that you get kicked off the internet for being a part of, but there is a Jeffrey Epstein thing. I mean, that is real. There is a pedophile island where he would, and we don't know who any of his clients were.
They're keeping it secret.
That's kind of strange, right?
That's very weird.
We don't know anybody that was part of his cabal there to do that kind of evil thing. He mysteriously died of an apparent suicide in prison, which obviously he didn't kill himself. His sidekick got a sweetheart deal. She's not leaking any names of any clients. I mean, so is the pedophile thing a conspiracy theory, or is it just a conspiracy? Because something was going on there.
Yeah.
And now we have, the Balenciaga thing. We have people rebranding pedophiles as minor attracted persons, or maybe they just call non-offending pedophiles that. And I'm sorry, I don't want to spend the whole program today talking about pedophilia.
No.
But the reason I'm saying this is because it's getting really weird. It's getting really weird. And having children is something that I'm concerned about. I'd be concerned about it whether I had little kids or not. Mm-hmm. It's a real problem in our society, and it's just it feels really weird, Cleve.
Well, I want to say this, and I'm not making any argument for QAnon. I'm still not. But, okay, I think our kids, our young children, are definitely being targeted by pedophiles in high places who are even now using public education, using media, social media, and other things to groom these kids, to take away the innocence and expose them to what pedophilia is all about. They want to normalize it pretty much the way we normalize gay marriage and normalize now transgenderism, none of which is normal, but it's been normalized according to culture. So to normalize pedophilia, they have got to rob our kids of their innocence, and they've got to convince parents and those of us who are supposed to be protecting our kids that you're not protecting them when you don't let them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It is kind of scary. It is kind of fearful in a way, and it is something I think we need to face up to the fact that it is happening. Maybe not exactly in the way of QAnon, but we're seeing efforts by the current culture to get our kids.
Yeah,
it's there. It's
really weird, and it's like they want people to be these genderless widgets,
right? Good way of putting it.
And that are totally malleable, and they have to start young if they're going to do that, because they know obviously this kind of stuff starts to learn normal behavior and the normal way of engaging with the world. Kids start to learn this stuff, and so they have to start early teaching these kids that gender is an illusion, and how you feel about your sexuality is totally natural, and embrace it, and whatever you do is it's all morally equal and all this stuff. And I just I don't like it.
So my point is, all the more reason why the answer again is to stand up and to stand out and to speak the truth. I, for one, by God's grace, not for anybody, will never resort to using preferred pronouns for somebody who I know is a he or she. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It is not true. It is not scientific. And we just need to, if simply taking a stand like that is a start.
Well, now they're starting to do preferred adjectives.
Wow.
This is not a total, it is a joke kind of, but there are people that are starting to talk about preferred adjectives. So when you talk about me, Cleve, I would like you to use the adjectives strong, handsome, brilliant.
Well, we still have to maintain a little bit of truth in there. So truth is important too. But my point is, we're joking a little bit, but this is happening.
Yeah.
And what makes it different than in years past, it is now at the highest level of our government. It's been at the highest level of popular media for some time. But now people who have power can codify things into law. And that's what's happening right now. When you accept the fact that so-called science proves there are more than 40 genders, then there are no barriers. There are no lines that it's not safe to cross. So again, and I don't say this, this is not complaining. I just think we need to take a good, clear, objective look at where we are if we want to have any idea of what we're going to do about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, and we need to pray a lot, stay close to the Lord. He's we're not going to make it through this without him. That was always the case, and it certainly is the case now.
Well, some good news after that. That was a pretty heavy start. Some good news. Florida, the state of Florida, which has been very clear that they're not going to have any of that woke agenda stuff and that pushing back. Well, Ashley Moody, who's the Florida Attorney General, said that the state of Florida has pulled $2 billion from BlackRock over the ESG thing. Mm-hmm. And they're responding also to the growing fentanyl crisis in a totally different way than a lot of other states are doing it. So, again, I was saying, David, we need our leaders, particularly on the state level, to take a stand. And DeSantis continues to show that, because BlackRock is also a very serious thing. Have you seen all the BlackRock commercials lately?
I haven't seen any BlackRock commercials.
They're all over the place.
That's weird.
They're actually advertising.
Well, Florida's not the only state that has done this.
Right.
It's good that Florida has followed suit, but what states are starting to do is they're starting to take their state pension funds, which their teachers and their police officers and government officials and stuff pay into. The state is supposed to put that towards a fund to be invested into companies. It's like sending money to a 401k. It's basically what it is. But you know somebody has to administrate that, and so a lot of these states have hired companies like BlackRock to take that money and then invest it. Well, what BlackRock does is they invest the money, they buy interest in companies, large companies, and then because they have bought so much influence in these, they bought so many shares of these companies, they have a lot of influence on those companies using the money from the people in Florida.
Right.
They then start to change the way the company operates based on how they want them to.
They change the criteria for credit, for example.
They do all kinds of stuff because then they have the power to do it because they control so many shares of the country of the company using your money.
Right.
Using money that police officers and teachers in Florida have contributed.
It's insidious.
And they're this is how they're causing societal change. So this is, by the way, one way that they are pushing the green agenda with electric cars. This is one way they are affecting oil production.
They're also using it for so-called diversity stuff. They're demanding, for example, a certain number of kind of people should be on boards.
Right, exactly.
Or you don't invest in them.
And so BlackRock can say, hey, listen, you company XYZ, we're not going to invest in your company because you don't have a 60% BIPOC board. So you need to hire some board members that are parts of certain minority groups or whatever, or you don't get our investment. And so the companies, they need the investment. They have to do it. So this is, and then the policies of those companies are changed. This is how they're doing it. So it's very good that Florida and other states are taking their money out of these investment firms that are going to influence our culture that way.
And that's really important because, again, that's part of the global effort, by the way, of doing that too, through the World Bank, who will start using the same so-called qualifications for if you want credit or investments. And so that's pretty huge. And I'm glad to see that some of our states are fighting back.
Me too. And look, Cleve, as conservatives, we worry a lot about the power of the state and the power of the government to control us and to limit our freedoms and things like that. But this is very similar to that. I mean, BlackRock is probably just as powerful as our federal government in many ways.
Well, the thing about it is BlackRock has done what other companies have done, basically have reached an agreement with the federal government, literally to be used by them for mutual advantage.
Yeah, you might notice that a lot of their initiatives are very popular with the left wing.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
sure.
By the way, there are a lot of people that throw around the word fascism and don't have any idea what it means. This is what fascism is. It's government partnering with private companies.
You got it.
Sure, our federal government is limited by the Constitution. There's a lot of things they can't do, but they sure can use big corporations to do it. And the most frustrating thing about it is that they use your money to do it.
Right. And
it's crazy.
Some of the private companies they use are, of course, the media companies, all right, which Elon Musk, this guy, I am more and more impressed by what he's doing. Again, he's not a Republican, okay? He's not doing this for the reasons that we're talking about.
But you're known by your enemies. So look at who's against him.
And he has said this, two things. Number one, he said he was removing from Twitter any pedophilia type activity or whatever. He's removing it. He's getting out of there.
And this hadn't been done already. Why?
Good point. And the other thing he's doing is basically he's saying that he is going to reveal what Twitter did before his purchase that had an impact on the election.
That I want to know.
That's
that
powerful.
I am very interested in that.
That's why they want him out of here, because all of the media companies are complicit, to me, in election meddling. And Twitter was one of the biggest to do this. And so he's saying, I'm going to open it up. We're going to see how they did it, and
how they, by the way, rigged the 2020 election by suppressing information. That's exactly what they did.
So, again, that's some good news. And I never saw this coming. Did you see it coming that any of the media giants, things like Twitter or Facebook, would ever have an about face? I didn't see this coming.
I can't say that I did. No, but it takes. I mean, it's what it takes is somebody with billions and billions of dollars. We bought it for $44 billion.
Right.
It's sad that that's what it takes. But yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I hope that we get some.
I have been on Twitter lately, and I hadn't been in a while. I see you doing a lot more active stuff on Twitter too.
Yeah, under the Mere Conservatism handle. Make sure you follow us.
I mean, it's definitely obvious that a lot of the shadow banning and all that kind of stuff it's been taken off. You can see that. I can feel it.
I agree with you.
So Elon Musk, again, I'm not saying this is a guy that I would call somebody that I want to emulate in every way. But again, sometimes, and as a Christian, I say this sorrowfully, actually, sometimes God has to use somebody who is not a Christian person to do something that, for some reason or another, Christians won't do. And he's doing it through Elon Musk.
Yep.
And I don't think he's the only one. So, way to go, Elon. You know, I don't know how things are going to turn out. They're going after him, like you said. The government's going after him.
Yeah, it's crazy to see who the government will go after and why, and the people that they will leave alone.
You got it. Jim Jordan, one of the people that you and I like in politics, he's threatening to subpoena the former FBI official who's been accused by whistleblowers of ordering agents to classify cases as domestic extremism, even if they didn't meet the standards for such. And so she was supposed to testify this past Friday. She did not. She backed out. And so now they're going to subpoena her. And so my point is, now, I want to ask your opinion about this, because a lot of folks are saying they don't really want Republicans in the House to waste time with a whole lot of hearings and examinations. And I hear that. What say you? What do you think about?
I think they should. I think they totally should.
Why?
Well, because I want the truth. I think the truth is important, and so a lot of people are like, "Oh, yeah, the Republicans are going to waste time by these investigations. They don't do anything. We want them to actually do stuff." Well, I want them to do some certain things too, but I think they can do things and also investigate. I'm happy that they're going to investigate Hunter Biden. I care about the corruption of the Bidens. I do think that that's important, and I think that they should do it. Among other things, I think that it's good. I think we need answers for no other reason than we just need to know what happened. Now, does that mean it's going to mean anything in the long run politically? A lot of times these hearings, they go in one ear out the other.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing that ever happens at them come to anything. That is the case sometimes, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes important things do come of it. And regardless, I have some serious questions about what's been going on in the government, and I do want answers.
Especially because I believe it goes all the way up to Biden.
Yes.
I really believe that. And the Republicans have to show that there will no longer be two tiers of justice in America, which is what we have right now, thanks to the progressives and what they're doing. The conservatives and anybody of their ilk are going to be treated one way under our system, and the progressives are going to be treated a totally different way for the same thing or lesser.
And some critics of ours and of the right might say, well, you didn't want them going after Donald Trump this way. You don't want them doing that. You're being a hypocrite. Well, no, not exactly, because you could probably go back and listen to our program from around the time they were starting to investigate Donald Trump. You and I both said if Donald Trump did this stuff, then he should be held accountable. We don't think he did, but if he did, we need to know, and he needs to be held accountable. We both said that. It became pretty clear pretty quickly that it was a witch hunt.
Right. That's my point. They actually had the investigation, and they came up with nothing, and yet they're still wanting to pursue it. We're saying, you're telling us not to even have the investigation. You don't even want us to look into the matter. You have a different tier of justice for Trump than you do for Biden, and go ahead and say it.
And besides, we already know that the Biden family is crooked. We don't really need that much more about that.
They know it too, by the way.
They know it too. We know that the stuff with Hunter Biden is crooked. It's bad. It's going to look bad. What we may not know yet, we may not be able to tie it directly to Joe Biden, and I think they're worried about that. I don't know if we'll ever get there. I do think that the whole Biden family is crooked, including Joe, whether or not he knows what he's doing.
Well, another reason, David, and I agree with you 100%, but another reason it needs to be done is there are elements of the FBI and the Justice Department that colluded in these things. And we need to have investigations because those guys, whoever they are, need to be out of there.
Yeah.
And we don't have it unless we go in there and bring some sunlight.
And look, the Joe Biden administration is not going to do it. They're not going to hold these people accountable. But if we do the investigations now, and maybe we win the executive branch of government in 2024, then maybe we have the basis we need to clean house.
We also have a better chance of winning the Senate, by the way, because the Democrats are actually having to defend more.
That's right. The map is not friendly to Democrats.
So there's a possibility that, if we got the Senate, my goodness, yeah, because that's just such an important body. But I bring that up because, again, Jordan, he's a good guy, and I want people like him heading up these investigations. He's one of my favorite. He's for real. How about China? Boy, what's going on with it? Those poor Chinese citizens protesting those really severe lockdowns and restrictions for COVID. I mean, they're welding doors shut, locking people into their homes and apartments.
And then people are starving, or their apartments are catching on fire, and they're dying in there because they can't get out.
A dozen people died that way. And so now the Chinese public is rising up. And I'm going to tell you something. They know, when they're rising up, that they must have had it because they know that their government.
Yeah, their head's on the block at this point. Yep.
And yet, Biden remains silent about it. In the State Department, they remain silent about it. They say something like, well, it's good for people to get make their opinions known, but nothing in the way of challenging China on what the response should be.
I think what we need as far as our policy to China is, this is never going to happen with Joe Biden, by the way, but China is our enemy.
Right. No doubt about it.
They need to be declared our enemy and treated as such. And I'm not talking about a shooting war, but what I am talking about is we need to realize that China is a gigantic geopolitical foe. They are after us. They want to knock us down to size. They want to make us second fiddle or third fiddle or fourth fiddle. And to combat that, we are going to need to get a little more aggressive with China. Some of the things that we need to do is we need to reshore a lot of manufacturing.
Thank you.
Guess what? That's going to cost a lot of money, and goods may cost a lot more money, but we need to do it because they're our enemy. We need to reshore manufacturing. We need to make it clear that Taiwan is off limits. We need to call out human rights abuses. These are things that is going to cost. It's almost a war footing.
Oh, sure.
But I think that we need to do it. It's going to cost us, but it's a battle worth fighting.
Down the road, it will cost us a whole lot more if we don't.
Well, and it makes me appreciate Donald Trump a lot more when he was president. And you know how much trouble and heat I gave him about his tariffs and stuff like that. So I thought it was terrible.
Was right.
But he was right. I think he was right to do it. He was still wrong in how he sold it. Okay. He sold it to us saying that it was good for us economically. Tariffs are not good for us economically, but what is good is they're our enemy.
It turned out good for us economically because it forced China to come to the table without the advantages that they've had in the past.
Okay.
So that was an economic boom.
In some ways, I can see what you're saying. My point is the way you sell things like tariffs and certain things to the American people is you say they are our foe.
Right.
This is going to exact a cost, but it's going to be better for everybody.
But China knew that they could not do under Trump's watch, what they're going to do under Biden's watch. China actually respected Trump in a way that we're not going to see in this present administration. They didn't like Trump. They hated him. But this guy basically was saying, we are going to call the shots, not you.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Well, we've got to reshore manufacturing of important things. I'm not talking about like the toys that I buy my daughter at the dollar store. Okay. I'm talking about like medicines.
Our medicines,
and
certain chips and whatnot.
Microchips in Taiwan. We need to make some of those here, which actually Biden administration has made steps to do that, which is a good thing.
Right.
We need to have food. Make sure that our food is grown here and taken care of here. Some of that comes from China too.
How about keeping our oil produced here too?
There's so many things we need to do. So many things we need to do.
You know how much better footing we would be right now if we still were the oil-independent nation we were when Trump was in office?
Things would be much, much better. But there's so many things you need to do. And I know that this stuff is more complicated than we make it sound sometimes to do. However, you got to do it, and you got to get started on doing it. The next president that comes in, hopefully in 2024, or it'll be 2025, the next president hopefully will get a jump start on this stuff.
Right.
And codify it into law so that the next president can't come and just cut off oil production the way it's been going the last
My whole
years.
point is if America is not respected and feared, then the world is not it's a less safer place because of that. And that's what's happened under
And we need to
Biden.
stop acting like everybody's our buddy.
Thank you. And Biden, again, Trump was like that too, but that's another story. All right. So, David, man, good stuff. How can folks hear all this again?
Well, make sure you check it out on Apple Podcasts, check it out on Spotify and YouTube and Facebook, and make sure you leave a comment too.
And from both of us, David Perry and Cleve Walker, from the bottom of our hearts, we wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas, no matter how crazy things are getting, because that's what Christmas is all about. And the answer came to the world 2,000 years ago as a babe in a manger. He's the answer, the only answer. Listen, keep the faith. It's not over with yet. Bye-bye.